All right, so this program that you're doing,
2013 was when I first started the television show and running the missions. So I've been doing it for 3 years
how's
now.
it going? Is it? I mean, are you picking up? Sound like something that people would love to watch. I mean, it's got a lot of action.
Yeah,
it serves a good purpose.
I think it's an amazing show. But
and you must love doing it, right?
I love running missions. Like I don't like the other side of it when you're having to go editing the show and that sort of thing. But I love running missions and catching guys who are poaching and doing illegal things, and in some ways exposing what's happening. Like we did 2 missions last year in Sumatra trying to prove there's illegal logging happening inside the national parks, and it only took us 3 days, and we came across 3 different operations all doing illegal logging in Sumatra. So in that case it was we were just trying to show here's what's actually happening in these places. We closed down those 2 crime smuggling rings where they were smuggling wildlife out of the Philippines, one doing pangolin, another one doing forest turtles, like those little wee turtles. They were smuggling those to China. What they do with it, I think some of them were eaten and some of them were used as pets. We caught a Vietnamese boat with 15 ton of illegal fish on board, fishing in Philippine waters. We did anti-poaching patrols in a province called Aceh, which is the very northern province in Sumatra.
Yes,
and that's an amazing jungle there.
Is it?
It's really interesting.
I may be going there.
Here's the cool thing with it. There was a rebel group called the GAM that it was a civil war between them and the Indonesian army, and for 30 years there was this fight going on, and what it did was it stopped people doing gold mining, people doing illegal logging and those things. As soon as those illegal operations went in there, they got shot by the GAM, and as soon as the Indonesian army went in there, they got shot. So this place has been protected, and it's got no roads through it. It's the largest piece of jungle left in Indonesia, and what's protected it, the poachers, to get into the middle of the jungle takes about 3 to 4 weeks of hiking. Then you've got 3 to 4 weeks to get out. A man can typically carry 4 weeks of food. For you to carry more is physically almost impossible. So the middle of this jungle has had no poaching, and that's where the rhino and the amazing wildlife actually remains. 200 Sumatran rhino left in the world,
Really?
100 in that one piece of jungle. The other 100 are spread over about 10 other little wee pockets of jungle, and they will all be killed out. The survival of that species in the wild, it hinges on that one piece of jungle. But now the Indonesians are talking about putting a road right through the middle. If they do that, I believe it will be the end of that rhino. So there's there's a couple of
people standing up in Indonesia against it?
There's an organisation called the Losa Conservation Forum who are working on that now to try and stop that road, and I'm hopeful that they will be successful.
Have you done a show there?
Yeah, we filmed one episode up in Aceh specifically on the rhino, and it was a cool mission, but we didn't catch anyone. It was very, very tough mission. Like it's a needle in a haystack.
Well, that must
be
very tough for you to make a show about trying to find these guys if you know there's not that many of them in that place, right?
It is hard. Like we spent 2 weeks running this patrol. We had covered such a tiny corner of this massive jungle, and it is depressing. And sometimes most of our episodes, I've got so many episodes half filmed where we never got a bust at the end, and that's the nature of the business. We don't win all our battles, and we're not always successful.
Wow. Well, I want to talk to you a little bit more about the ocean. Mm-hmm. 2 things that I want to ask you about. Are the cod ever going to come back here in this part of the world? And I know a lot of fishermen would love to see it. Have you spent time up in Greenland and
No, I haven't been to Greenland. I have followed a little bit the cod fishery, and in many ways, like the cod got cleaned out over a period of time by several countries: Spain, Portugal, Canada, and America. Really, the 4 principal players that cleaned it out. And what sometimes happens in an ecosystem, there's a tipping point, and when you take it past that tipping point, there is a collapse that happens, and that void gets filled by other species. And I suspect that's what's happened in the cod fishery, that the cod have all gone, and there's other fish now sort of working around in that kind of biosphere. It may come back, but I'm not the right person to say. But one of the things that I have found, there's been areas in the world that have been largely cleaned out, and you give them a period to recover, and often they will come back. Like, nature is amazing in its ability to go filling these niches, and often we think it's a dire situation and it's never going to come back, and then we actually get surprised. And a good example is the seals. They were, at one stage there was 0 seals on that Muskegon Island, and now there's 15,000. That is an amazing success story. So with the cod fishery, I hope it comes back. I think it was one of the greatest fisheries on earth in its day, and it would be nice to see it come back to that way.
It's doing well in Norway or up in certain areas of Sweden and Iceland. I mean, it's growing.
Yeah.
The fish are getting even bigger.
I think here's what happened over there. They recognised the problems earlier on, and were faster to go doing something about it. And over this side of the world, things took a little bit longer for them to address it. But I'd go on to the current fishery here now. Like, something needs to be done about these commercial fishermen. The fact that you can go dragging right and off the coast here, like, that's a disgrace. And there's barely a Western country in the world that would tolerate that. But it's not an easy industry to change like that. And I think in America with your fishery, it's very complicated who has jurisdiction and who sets the quotas, and fishermen always asking for exemptions, or can we go using a smaller net. And so your fishery here, I think it's a complicated way it's managed, and it does make it tough to address it, but it has to be done. Like, you're talking about the cod fishery all being gone. It's happening in all the other fisheries here as well in varying degrees. And so I think it is an area that, especially in a region like this, that ecologically is such a valuable place. The commercial fishing needs to be addressed. If I say the number one thing you guys want to work on here, don't worry about the seals. They're quite happy sitting out there on Muskegon Island. Yeah. But the commercial fishing in here, and if you maybe put a 12-mile ban. So if you're going to run dragging 12 miles offshore, get rid of those guys out of these waters, and you will see the fishery start to come back. And then your recreational fishermen, they're not going to worry that a seal comes in and grabs one of their fish, because they've already caught 5. And I've seen that in various parts of the world. A good example was around Auckland, where in New Zealand, where I'm from, we used to allow commercial boats in around the Firth of Thames, and this is where a lot of Aucklanders would go and fish. Fishery was wiped out, and you go out there and spend a day and catch maybe one little fish that you had to throw back because it was too small. Now they got rid of the commercial boats. It's an amazing fishery now. And so, I think what's happening here, you look at how much money a recreational fisherman spends when he comes out to Nantucket, stays in a hotel, goes out, drinks piss at night, and has a few beers, goes to the restaurants for a meal, charters a boat, got a captain, he's burning a bit of fuel, he's going out, he's bought a bit of bait. Like, that's a lot of money coming in the economy.
Sure it is.
How much money comes in here from those commercial boats that are based elsewhere? Very little of that money comes in. So I think if you just look at it and say, in a selfish way for Nantucket, what's good for Nantucket? You guys need to have a decent recreational fishery here.
And we do. I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that bad. And then, of course, the bigger picture, plastic and garbage in the ocean and what it's doing to our ocean. What are you seeing? What do you think?
I'll tell you,
yeah.
Your audience may not know this. There's this link between what are called persistent organic pollutants and plastics. Persistent organic pollutants are all these chemicals that man has made that they last basically forever, and they don't like water, but they're all in the water because they've been dumped via various chemical processes. These things love plastics. You get small particles of plastic in the water. These persistent organic pollutants onto it. Now that's how they enter the food chain. So examples is DDT, 2,4,5-T. There's thousands of these chemicals. Plastics are becoming toxic because of that. There's what are called passive feeders in the ocean that they eat phytoplankton. But they just eat whatever's in the water, which historically has been phytoplankton. Now they're eating plastics. Then you get something like a myctophid, which is like a little wee squid. It comes and eats that organism. And now that persistent organic pollutant is inside the myctophid. And then it works its way up the food chain. There's a thing called biomagnification. Generally, every time you go up a level in the food chain, the concentration of those chemicals increases by a factor of between 5 to 10. So when you get up to your yellowfin, you've got enormously high levels of POPs, and we are gradually killing off our sea life, and we're making it toxic. And methyl mercury is another one that passes through. Like, you want to be very careful. I wouldn't go touching yellowfin tuna now. Just it is so high in these persistent organic pollutants. You've got dolphin now down off the coast of Florida that are unable to breed effectively because the POPs are so high in their body. Once these chemicals get inside your body, the only way there's 2 ways they get out. One is by that organism being eaten by another one, and the pollutants pass on. The second way is female dolphins, for example. These concentrations of POPs are expressed in the milk. So what's happening is the females, their concentration is going down, but those POPs are being passed to their babies. And so there's a problem with all these dolphin down off the coast of Florida unable to breed. So plastics and POPs have combined to be very toxic in the oceans. And
so that makes us responsible for even what we're doing on land, because eventually whatever chemical we're using, whether we're washing our dishes in a way, right?
Yep.
Even some dishwashing liquids,
Yep.
everything has a chemical that we may not know, and it bonds to a piece of plastic in the ocean. Tiny fish eat it, it climbs up the food chain, and we're all sick and wondering why, you know, fish are dying and we're getting sick.
At the moment,
I see it happening. It's disgusting.
Plastics provide the link from those toxic chemicals back to man through the food chain, and it's you know, it's a big problem, and it's one that's only going to get worse. And you know, it's good that you've seen some places ban the plastic bag completely.
Yeah, right.
You know, it'd be great to see that happen on Nantucket.
Well, they have. I mean, they just passed an ordinance that disallows the use of plastic tops. I mean, plastic water bottles are still used, but we recycle them. And we don't have plastic bags for grocery stores.
See, those
so we've done some good things.
Here's the other thing too about Nantucket. Like, this place should be a world leader in this type of thing. I agree. You know, like when you go to poor countries in Asia and Africa, you can kind of see why they don't have the money to go, you know, cleaning up their beaches, and people can be kind of lazy in there. But if there's one place that should be a world leader in that, it's America, and especially somewhere like Nantucket, that is this little wee windswept island that is kind of totally dependent on the environment for your survival.
Well, we have this incredible fishery, the scallop. We're the last still existent bay scallop industry that's still hanging in there. But we love fertilizing. And it's one of those things where it's like the fishery, you know. They've gotten used to fishing the way they have. They don't want to affect it. It's a money industry. You know, fertilizers here.
Yeah, see, that's a challenge. Like a lot of people would say, look, it's my lawn. I've got the right to put whatever I want on it. It's my crop. I've got the right to put whatever I want on it. But there's, you know, governments have a role to come in and play some leadership on this and say, well, hang on, we're actually looking at the big picture here. And you putting that fertilizer on your crop, that's affecting our scallop fishery, and that's affecting,
well,
you know,
it's coming down. You know, it's hitting ahead right now. So, well, Pete, this has been very interesting.
Yeah,
and
pleasure,
very
mate.
nice to meet you.
Yeah, you too. I appreciate you taking the time to see us.
Absolutely, and you know, I hope you. How long are you sticking around for?
I'm heading out tomorrow, but I'm going to come back in the spring. I reckon.
Okay.
There's a few things I'd like to come and work in the spring. Maybe we catch up again.
I hope so. And where are you off to now? I mean, what's your next adventure?
Boston tomorrow. Then I'm up to Greenwich. Then I'm heading off to Africa to do some recon. So we're going to film series 3 there next year down in and just got to go and meet with some NGOs and meet with a couple of enforcement units. And
before I get, we could keep going, but because it's my show, I can do whatever I want. How can other people who see this help you to continue to do these kind of things and to keep educating
I've got
people?
our website is earthrace.net. Go on there. They can make a donation, send us a message, or you know, so when we go posting interesting articles on our Facebook page, share them out. You know, a lot of my work is just trying to make people aware of things that happen, and if they see something that they think is interesting for them, I'll make a wee video about the seal issue.
Oh, you did?
I'm actually filming it while I'm here this weekend.
Good.
So, in fact, I'll send you a link to it. But
did you go out there and actually look at them?
Hoping to get out there tomorrow morning.
Oh.
Yeah. So we were going to go this morning, but it was it's a pretty small boat we're going in, and it was a little bit lumpy. So I'm hopeful tomorrow's going to be a bit flatter and we'll get out there. But you know, it's all very well me commenting on these things. It's nice if you actually get out there and see it firsthand. Hopefully, make some intelligent comments on it.
You got it. Thanks, Pete.
Pleasure, mate.
Okay.
Appreciate your time.
All
mate.
the best.
All right. All good.